tax na GRA di yëgal faykati lempo yi ne warugar la pour ñu fay lu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment maanaam bépp contract bu waay joxe te si biir réew mi la ñu toog kon xaalisi contract bi ngeen nangotoo war nga cee wàññi ci xayma téeméer bu nekk fukka bu fekkee ne contracto bi dëkkut ci biir réew mi bu boobaa di nga war a wàññi téeméer bu nekk fukka ak juróom lii mooy lempo bu ñu naan withholding tax on contract payment lii mooy lempo bi nga xam ne yow mi joxe contract warugal la nga wëlbatiku dem fay ko ci maakaani GRA tax office bu la gën a jege mbete ci banque yi GRA jagleel pour fay lempo war ngaa jébal lempo bi si diiri fukki fan ak juróom gannaaw bi nga wàññee ci xaalis si contract bi amul benn contracto bu ñu teggil fay lempo bi xanaa mu fekk ne nguuri Gambia ñoo ko jéegale boole si projet yi nga xam ne mbootaay ndimbali ñoo koy dépense GRA di fayeku lempo ngir yokk.
For the first time in the history of the Gambia, Gambia Printing Publishing Corporation proudly introduces the Bibliomatic Exercise Book Printing Machine. The machine has the capacity to print more than 20,000 books per hour. Yes, 20,000 books per hour. It also prints magazines, newspapers, calendars, flyers, normal books and all kinds of printed documents plus items at affordable prices. With the Bibliomatic Printing Machine, GPPC can now render high-quality and non-size restricted printing service supply across the sub-region. Rush now and partner with GPPC for all your public and private printing service needs. Print with us today and you'd be offered highly professional, reliable and efficient service delivery by our team of experts. The Gambia Printing and Publishing Corporation is here to meet all demands and is reliable at all times. For more info, contact us on 437-4493 or 437-4402. GPPC is Gambian and it's yours.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamsol's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamsol.
This special program. Today, the nation has been shocked with the announcement of the death of the Vice President, the current Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, Dr. Badara Joof, who was sick briefly, according to a statement issued by the President, and died earlier this morning in India. This morning, I quoted, the President said, "Fellow Gambians, it is with heavy heart that I announce the passing of my Vice President, His Excellency President His Excellency Vice President Badara Joof. The sad event took place in India after a short illness. May Allah grant him Jannatul Firdausi." After this announcement by His Excellency President, scores of Gambians and non-Gambians took to Twitter and Facebook. Political parties issued statements. The Gambia government, through the spokesperson Sankare and Presidential Advisor Ibrahim also issued a government statement also announcing the death of His Excellency Vice President Joof and also declaring a state of national mourning for 7 days. As we speak, scores of Gambians are at his residence in Banjulunding, paying their respect to the family. Dr. Joof is married with several children. a seasoned civil servant who has rose from the ranks of different positions in government to be where he is today. And we want to use this opportunity first to extend our condolences to the Joof family, his wife and children, also to the President, His Excellency, President Adama Barrow. This might be a very difficult time for him and the entire cabinet, but also to the entire Gambians, because Dr. Badara Joof, I think a lot of us remembered him as the last hope, because I see somebody said today the last hope has gone. Somebody who was in government but was not scared to talk tough when he needed to talk to his colleague. And he was somebody that all Gambians believed would have helped change the status quo. Today, the entire country mourns with his family. And to discuss all of this, I have one of his childhood friends who knew Dr. Joof from a long time ago when they were all going to school. Former Minister of Information and Communication, Honorable D.A. Jawa. D.A., welcome to this special program.
Thank you, Fatou.
Today, we lost a great son of the Gambia. I saw a post, somebody said, this is not just a loss to the Gambia, to the family, the Joof family, but it's a great loss to the entire Gambian people. Briefly, tell us who Dr. Badara Joof was when you met him first as a young Gambian.
Thank you, Fatou. Yes, as you said, the death of Badara Joof definitely is a great loss to the Gambia as a nation. I knew Badara Joof more than 50 years ago. I mean, we had just left school, and then we met at the Yundum College. We were training as teachers. We happened to be in the same class, and then, you know, like all people who meet classmates or something, for Badra was definitely, we just fell for each other. As they said, it was love at first sight. So we became the best of friends among the students of our class, and that friendship continued until to this very day. You know, Badra, I've spent so much time with Badra. I mean, to him, to most people thought even that I shared the same mother and father with Badra, because we were so close together. You know, we used to sleep on the same bed and all the things. Because even when we left the college, you know, because I left the college before him, I went to work for the GUC, and he continued and trained as a teacher and started to teach until he joined the civil service. But you know, even that time, throughout that period, we were together. You know, all the time he would, while he was living in Serekunda, I was living in Banjul. What he would do is on weekends, sometimes he would come to my house on weekends, spend the weekend there. Sometimes I'll go to his house, and you know, this is how we've been together until in the early 80s or about late 80s or thereabout, you know, I decided also to move to Serekunda, you know, because then I was still working for the GUC. And but getting a house in Serekunda was not easy, so I decided to stay in his house. I was living with his house. We were sleeping on his bed until such time I was able to secure my own house in Serekunda. And you know, I mean, we were eating together. I mean, going. It was just like a family. I was part and parcel of his family. He was living there with his mom and dad and brothers and sisters. But I was definitely part of the family. So he was my very good friend.
Wow. From that tender age, I've met Badra, I think, when I was around 17, when I was an intern at GRTS. He was then he was the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Religious Affairs. I remember as a young reporter, we had to interview the then Minister Lamin Kaba Bajo, and I got to meet Badara through that assignment. And from that day, I have set eyes on him. He has been that quiet person. He speaks always on a low tone. Most of the time you think he's not even interested in whatever anyone is saying around. Has he been like that from the onset?
Very much like that. You know, he's such a research person, you know, and well, I think he's a born technocrat. For him, he was not interested in, you know, in political gimmicks or sorry. In fact, if you observe that even the time when he was in the cabinet up to this very day, you would hardly see him in any political meeting.
Yeah.
He was not interested in politics. What he was interested was, to do his work and serve the Gambian public. He was a technocrat, definitely.
Wow. Let's, Charles, let's look at a video we just compiled, some of his speeches and a little background on him. Let's look at that video, and when we come back, we'll also call some cabinet ministers who would also talk to us, because you also served with him the same time, right? When you were minister, he was also Minister of Higher Education.
We were together in cabinet, and he was a friend
How was
of all.
that? How was that like? You guys were friends from a very young age, and then serving together as Minister Higher Education and you at Communication. How was that experience like?
Well, it was nice. It was just like, as I said, Badara and I were just like brothers of the same family.
Yeah.
So, even when we were in cabinet, I used to consult him a lot, and he would in turn consult with me for a lot of things. So, we were just continuing what we brought from outside. As far as we were concerned, we were brothers together in the same government. Yes.
Wow. Now, Charles, is the video ready? If the video is ready, let's watch that video, and when we come back, we will look at more the life of Honorable Badara Joof, Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, who died earlier this morning. Let's watch the video.
The Vice President of the Gambia, Badara Joof, died in India on Wednesday, January 18, 2023, following a brief illness. The announcement was made via the official Twitter handle of President Adama Barrow earlier Wednesday morning. Dr. Joof, 65, was appointed Vice President of the Gambia in 2022 following the 2021 presidential election. He had previously served as Higher Education Minister during President Barrow's first term. The Vice President left the Gambia about 3 weeks ago to seek medical treatment in India. After the announcement of his passing was made public, an outpouring of condolence messages and mourning from Gambians home and abroad ensued. The mayor of Kanifing Municipal Council, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, wrote on his Facebook page, "It is with great sadness I receive the news of the passing of His Excellency, the Vice President Mr. Badara Joof. He was an uncle, a mentor, and the most honest of leaders, a straight shooter who was not afraid to tell the truth, no matter the personal cost to him. Your legacy will never be forgotten. My sincere condolence to his family and the Gambian people at large. A giant has been lost. May Allah grant him Jannah." The CEO of Global Properties, Sir Fraser, wrote, "It is with shock that I extend my condolence to the family of His Excellency Badara Joof, the President, and the entire nation of the Gambia. He was a man I didn't get the chance to meet, but admired from a distance. I pray Ya Allah grant him Jannah and give solace to his family." VP Joof was highly respected across the board for his candor and professionalism.
The Gambian people have great expectations. And it reminds me of two writers. Charles Dickens wrote Great Expectations. Chinua Achebe wrote No Longer at Ease. The Gambian people have great expectations, and they are no longer at ease. To make them at ease, we have to deliver the development agenda of this government, our government.
Badara Joof was a Gambian politician and civil servant who served as Vice President of the Gambia from 2022 until his death. He previously served as Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology from 2017 to 2022. Joof was a student at Armitage High School and trained as a teacher at Yundum Teachers College. He held a Bachelor of Education degree from the University of Bristol, a degrees degree in English Literature from the University of London, and a degrees degree in Development Economics from the University of Bath.
It cannot be business as usual in the civil service. We go to security. We would have to mobilize resources for them to be more effective. We don't have to take security for granted. In security, you never say it cannot happen or it will not happen. It happens when you least expect it to happen, because that's the time they strike. They catch you unawares. We will have to make the police, the drug squad, the military more effective, more efficient, but more importantly, more professional.
Joof began his career as qualified teacher teaching English at the Gambia College. He was then head of Department of Languages and Literature at Nusrat High School. He was the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Education for many years. In March 2002, he was reported that he had been transferred to the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Local Government and Lands. Joof worked as the World Bank Liaison Officer to the Gambia. In this role, he assisted Higher Education Minister Mariama Sarr Ceesay in introducing a new education policy to the Gambia. He also urged the Gambian tourism sector to move from the routine tourism and be more proactive. He led a World Bank project supported to NGO Network Tango, which had a budget of $220,000 and lasted from 2010 to 2013. The stated purpose of which was to enhance the efficiency and accountability of non-governmental organizations in delivering basic services to the poor in the member country. In 2013, Joof visited various projects sites in the Gambia along the Ministry of Agriculture to gain a better understanding of the various challenges they face. In 2014, Joof was appointed as an education specialist in Dakar, Senegal, to the World Bank. On 22nd February 2017, President Adama Barrow appointed Joof as his Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. In memory of the late VP Joof, President Barrow has declared a 7-day national mourning effective today, 18th January 2023, with all flags flying half-mast. Upon arrival, the body of the late VP will be laid in state at the National Assembly for a state funeral. Arrangements related to the funeral will be announced later. The former Vice President will be remembered forever by Gambians for his service for the nation.
As somebody who has been appointed to coordinate government affairs, I had a discussion with His Excellency and colleagues and said we should have a cabinet retreat. But it will not be like the old types of retreat. This is going to be a different retreat. A retreat that will discuss the pressing priority development imperatives of this country and come up with an implementable action plan that has timelines, people who would deliver and give results, with a monitoring dashboard. As we implement, we self-assess and see how far we are going, what progress has been made, what are the implementation constraints, and what is the panacea to those implementation constraints.
Reporting for Kerr Fatou, I am Buba Gajigo.
Thank you very much, Buba Gajigo. What a touching profile for a great man. He had big plans for the Gambia. Honorable Jao, he had big plans for the Gambia.
Absolutely.
He said it's not going to be business as usual.
Yeah.
Listening to him one more time, this was a great loss for the Gambia. He had big plans. He didn't care who was offended by what he was saying. He wanted to make sure the Gambian people got what they bargained for. That was the agenda, and he had big plans. And he made that known to all of us.
That's true. Definitely, he had very big plans for this country. In fact, he said so in one of his speeches, that if he doesn't care if President Barrow decides to just get rid of him just because of what he's doing. He was prepared to go all the way and do what he thought was good for this country. definitely.
On the line with me, I have the Minister of Information, Honorable Lamin Queen Jame. Ibenyadi, bismillah program oto.
Alhamdulillah, Fatou today. Baraka Bake for having me on the program or platform auto.
Honorable B covering Gambia be wulita sunola covering President Barrow news safeko ala Vice President Dr. Badara Joof minjio do ata India banko kan kabri nyimoy bi somanda ya moy ni muntumala keta munsunu kule nati
Baraka Bake aji Fatou nakibaro soto aketa na cabinet page leto nasanga kankularo jeddaning His Excellency President Barrow Badikang Dimbayala foko na Vice President Badara Joof aminjie doya tale jararo wuchu sutunto atata minna India diringa moya kuwe nkijo fara bake ayen sunu fana bake parce que Badara keta moleti mi ya lonko banku din kende ya kamansero dole mate fana momin na balwo mu we be keta sobe yaleti ala balwo mu me be keta sobe yaleti ntenene man Badara je ku kono min mutulun kuwati ka kumasi ay do ko ke wato minna ntebalon na wato minna abe education ning permanent secretary ay jeke nyaming nsa fala wato le form ni education policy, the most popularized education policy that wo bota je anata local government bira futata local government ni kamira local government ne fon karama education fon karam fang
hade
nin kam manyaton kaya taman seri kendo min aya keje Badara ya pankanya mbake ay palasa balu soto nyama
hade
ibika woja manyato ibika jala foku moto kamin jeje dron walem mo kende yati banku din kende ya Gambia ka kende ya sanji tan jamalu ay walle ke do ko nyim banko ka adunya de banko ke ta banko ti do ko wallem bawo nim banko be sotola
ha
mba fola e banko palaso lebe sotla barate kala palaso la soto kense ti de mol lebe kala do ko lalti e sobea wo do ko luka
ha
Badara serung fo serung ko serung about serung janning ka dum politiko kono
ha
na dimaya la first degree ke in law banta anyanta na la Gambia Law School ala scholarship ku en sula because wato la nte fangate do ku wala fature afango mamfuta na mfolo abe Uganda anyanta na la nata Badara ya ngafa enka eko ndimma ko da anda fita kata law school ala post degree banne in law nata wo ku walleda akonye queen akonye wo manjarete fawo nanu njang
ndesan
ite nyantan ko la telephone la drong ndimma na criteria mit luwa ya landi nyami sulo teje purute na jang ko telephone la drong
ndesan
ite nyim moyde
ha
nyinna moti mim state minister at the time aka nyim fo atray palaso fana be mara aka diamu nyiye wo min fana nene palaso mara bari wo material time don tamantara kuto akonye ko banku doku wabika bang mo ka ndieleke barato fana min ke ja sute etale nyinna moti
hade
bidi ala yake nata den cabinet amanke na vice president don amanke na nyaton ko damati bari aketa inspirational leader lek nyaton ko le minka hamo dun ko malan ko lula bake ni na diamuta ibe nyin sute la tole nal benta kacha dulalto ibe nyin sute la tole sula tala alibe min fola abe kala Gambia bankola quality abe kala mansa kundala quality be Gambia sambano la nyaadile pour Gambia ke banko ti min fisata dunia ko
ndeysaan
min nata fo wonyo mola man den kolo kole ko min kinti kungo manyike bika kinti kundo je bari ngalon ko badara nyoro jose
abakole ala
sombe nga kafunyola nga ala dani doron kaduaye atadula para sa fisa ya bodlat
amin allah
ala dimbaya ala ning ay tukoma ala sikaira ken ni be
amin
ala bo jamano kono ala kana ke nyi jarabita sa ke wati siyati ala ya dundara jana kallanke kono firdaus
amin allah
ila fon fromo kamal alquran na duwa jabo
amin allah baraka bake kono go ahead
dan baro panan sa fae ko asi ala mutadaron badara patale bari ana obijene always
baraka bake honorable financial konton sangola ka president konton anin cabinet mumi ka tol fanon be konton fo ala se nyinke kutini asa so feandi president bayri ni mo ka futa haniti le kilindro ni wote bala o ka ke fem kolennati hade baraka bake ture baraka
tol fana lodla
baraka
ana mali ali sintum to pamba
amin Thank you so much. Honorable DA, you've heard the Minister of Information, a current colleague. This is the same message that everyone says about Honorable Badara Joof. His kindness, his support, his zeal, what he has done for his country, and the big dreams that he has for Gambia.
Yes, Fatou, that's quite true. In fact, what Honorable Jami has said here, is a clear testimony of people who have, actually interacted with Badara. Yeah. This is exactly the type of person he is. Yeah. He's a very, he loved people. He was very humble in everything he did it with humility. You would, even despite all the, posts that he has held, because he's been a permanent secretary for almost virtually all the ministries in this country, and he's held very high positions in this country, but you will never see it in him. Yeah. He was so humble. Go to his home, you see him there. He will interact with everybody. Yeah. He was that kind of a person, definitely.
Wow. Yeah. What a tribute from a colleague who has known him prior to being his colleague, but also I have Honorable Kerr Gomez. Kerr, I saw. Honorable, welcome to this program.
Yeah, thank you.
First of all, we want to send our condolences to you, through you, to the President and the entire cabinet. I saw your Facebook post and it was very touching. You spoke less, few words. Tell us about your friend and colleague, Honorable Dr. Badara Joof.
Thank you, Fatou. His Excellency, the Vice President, Honorable, the Vice President, Dr. Badara Joof was a friend, a true patriot, a seasoned civil servant. This man knows the in and outs of the civil service. Yeah. He performed all the roles. He was first an assistant secretary, senior assistant secretary, principal assistant secretary, deputy permanent secretary, permanent secretary. And as permanent secretary, he served at the office of the president, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Education at that time, Ministry of Lands and Local Government, Ministry of Agriculture, and so on and so forth. Most of these ministries, he served as permanent secretary. He also served as a consultant on civil service reform on behalf of the World Bank in Liberia. From there, later, he was appointed liaison officer for the World Bank, based in Dakar. And it was in 2017 he was appointed Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, and then last year Vice President. So, yes.
You worked with him because I remember you were at the university and you worked closely with him. He was the minister. How was it like working with Dr. Joof as somebody, as your boss?
For me, our connection has to do with academia, with excellence. I remember when I was a student, he was the permanent secretary at that time. So at then Ministry of Education. So I started interacting with him, but he did not know me at that time.
No.
But then also during my research, I came across his thesis that is at the National Library, in fact. And when I read it, I was so fascinated with this man. But I never told him about that.
Yeah.
And we continued, and during our discussion, I noticed that this man is an intellectual, and noticed that he has gone for a second master's, because he would have said, I have a master's degree, let me stop there. But he decided to continue again for another master's degree. And then, I noticed that he's a man of letters.
Yeah.
He's an intellectual. And Dr. Badara Joof doesn't have patience for mediocrity. He goes for excellence. And he likes academic discourse. And because of that training, he always go for ideas, confrontation of ideas. So if he disagrees, he will tell you also. He's not that hypocritical. You know his position right at that moment. That's Badara for you. But that doesn't mean that he will hold grudges against you. No. He can tell you his opinion today, and tomorrow you meet and then you have attire together. Wow. That's Badara. But he will tell you how he feels. He cannot keep quiet and go outside and start talking about other issues and so on and so forth. And, man like that discourse, and he has that love for action. He's action-oriented. He doesn't have patience for things to be postponed, to be delayed, procrastination. No. He feels that people waste time and on things that they should do now. And Badara is that type. And unfortunately, sometimes he can be misunderstood. But that's the man. He is action-oriented. Oh. And he doesn't want people who are too slow. You need to be fast in your thinking, in your articulation. And even the way you deliver it must be refined. Wow. You can see him, listen to him. You see the way he enjoys himself, because he enjoys excellence. Yeah. So whatever he does, he goes for it. He goes for excellence. And he really wanted change, development to take place, and so on and so forth for this country. And at the Ministry of Higher Education, some of the transformations that we are doing, Fatou, Badara thought of it many years ago when he was the permanent secretary at the then Ministry of Education. Right. But then because of a lot of challenges here, he could not implement that. Yeah. But today, thank God, we are implementing what he prepared under the instruction of His Excellency President Barrow to now transform GTTI into a University of Applied Science and Technology, so that for the first time in the history of this country, we will produce in 2-3 years' time homegrown engineers in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and the list goes on. Wow. That's the foresight. That's the man. Wow. Wow. That's the man. Unfortunately,
he will not be here to see some of those developments be launched, but his legacy will live on. What is your final message?
Exactly, Fatou. Just to buttress your point, in 18 months, Fatou, those buildings in Brikama for the new campus of the University of Applied Science and Technology that he worked for, will be delivered.
Wow.
And Badara will not be around.
Wow.
You know, I talked to him 1 week ago, and he was very happy to talk to me, and he started cracking jokes.
Wow.
So I had hope that he will come back. And, 2 days ago I called, but I got the wife, and he told me he was sleeping.
Wow.
Not knowing that I will not meet him
Again.
But yesterday, yesterday I received the daughter, and we were talking. Yes, yesterday. For me, as if through the daughter, he was saying goodbye to the ministry and whatever.
Wow.
You know. So it's very painful. It's very, very sad. He's a friend. He's the guy who.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy who spoke well of me. He's talked to the president.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Wow. What an emotion coming out there. All the people that dealt with it. Yeah, go ahead.
But I did not know my parents. He didn't want to know anybody. But he knew me. He wanted to just celebrate me.
Wow.
He went all out.
Wow, that's
Rest in peace.
Amen. And you will be there. What God's making, you are going to be there to solidify his legacy, to continue the work he has started at that ministry. And, I think that will be a big motivation as well for you. We want to send our condolences to you, Honorable, and through you, the entire cabinet. This is a great loss for the country. Listening to you profiling how he started from a private secretary, whatever, to principal, to permanent secretary, deputy permanent secretary. Nowadays, we don't see people going through this kind of ranks. Thank you very much, Honorable. I know you're very emotional today, and a lot of Gambians share these emotions about the late Vice President, who has been really very selfless and had big dreams for this country. Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you. Dear.
Yeah,
This was sad.
I know why Professor Gomez is very emotional when he's talking about Badara Joof.
Yeah.
Because this is the type of person Badara was. He didn't care your background.
Yeah.
All he cared for what you can be able to deliver to the nation. And probably he saw in Professor Gomez the potentiality of serving the Gambian nation. That's why he supported them the way he supported Professor Gomez. And this is exactly what he's done to many other people. But has supported so many people. He has helped so many people to actually advance in their life.
And God works in mysterious way. Today, Professor Gomez is going to work on Badara's legacy.
Exactly.
He is the Minister of Science and Technology. It starts hearing a state minister. This is real when a state minister cries on air.
Yeah.
I have someone else online who I personally know is a very good friend of Badara Joof, the government spokesperson, Sankare.
Oh, yes.
In fact, he named his first son after Dr. Badara Joof. I know several times I used to tell him, I know Badara Joof when I was a little kid, and he will take the phone to Badara's phone and say, Mane, Fatou Toure mongla atonde. And I could see every day in and day out there together.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's feeling. I have him on the phone today, right now. Sankare, how are you doing?
Well, I'm coping. It's not easy. It's very, very sad news, quite frankly. It's very devastating. Just based on what you have just said in your preamble there, I guess that summarizes the relationship I have with him.
Yes.
Actually, it was my third child I named for him.
Okay.
The third child. My first child was a son, then I had a girl, then a boy. That boy
is named after him, Now, go ahead.
Yeah, so we are family. Our relationship transcends politics. It transcends office and the bureaucracy of government. Ours is one of family, a scholar relationship. He was my high school teacher and mentor, I must add. In fact, where I stand today speaking to you, my own home in Banjul that I bought in 1996, he came to America to see me while visiting the World Bank. He was then the permanent secretary, and he insisted that I have to give him money to bring home and to buy me a piece of land so we can be neighbors in Banjul. Then he was also renting with his mom somewhere to the London corner close to the Bakote Bridge.
Wow.
I said, I have a father's home, I have family home. He said, no, that is not your home. I want you to have your own individual home.
Wow.
So I also complied. I sent him money when he returned to Gambia, and that's where I live today with my mom. So anytime I sit here, I remember those days, and even many years after I returned home, God would have it that we would work in the same government, something I never actually planned in my life. That he would leave his prestigious job at the World Bank, where he served as country director for Western Central Africa, to return to Gambia and serve his motherland, as they would say. Like here, every day, we together, like you said. In fact, in the Wolofs have what they call Gunge Buki. Gunge Buki translates in English like, when I come to see you, you see me off. I take you up to your house. You come up to my house, and I also take you back to your house. So even as vice president, this has been our relationship. His guards know my Otley very well, and they know the family. Our homes are just like 3 buildings from each other across the street. On Sundays, when I leave food and I come here, my mom would tell me, your elder brother just left. He was drinking attire. Because Badara Joof didn't drink, he didn't smoke, but attire he was addicted to, I must say.
Yes.
And for that, anytime I have attire, I will remember my former teacher, my mentor, my prodigy, my vice president, and former minister.
For somebody who had such a profile, he served throughout as a civil servant. He worked as a country director at the World Bank. He left all of that to come and serve in the Gambia as a minister. What do you think was the motivation?
I think Badara Joof, like Adam Mabaro, is always conscious of his humble beginnings. He was born in Kuntawur in the 1950s, Gambia, colonial India. Going through the primary school to Armitage School, he saw poverty firsthand. I wouldn't say he was from a poor family, but relatively, well-off family. But he knew what it meant for him to reach where he is. Even, for instance, as a school teacher, after he graduated with a master's degree in London and returned home, at Muscat High School, he consistently organized private classes. When other teachers were charging exorbitant fees, Badara Joof was charging nothing, zero. He insisted that students must return to school in the evening, and he would offer them free classes. And he was an all-rounder. For instance, he would teach English language, he would teach English literature, he would teach science, he would teach history. A man with a master's degree in literature would later transition and do another master's degree in economics.
Wow.
It takes a genius to do that, knowing all the mathematical complications of economics. But that was Badara Joof for you. So he had a passion, really, to serve mankind. He had a penchant for intellectual discourse. He loved scholarship. He exuded enormous intellect. And because of that, he had students gravitating again within him and about him all his life. So if you look at the camaraderie, the friends he kept, most of them were his former students.
Yeah.
I just left the house 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Of the people I left there were former school teachers, former headmasters, former students who are now bankers, successful people, and even our own cabinet. If you look at the government, for instance, Ibrahim, for instance, the information minister, was his student. The former minister of finance, Amadou Sane, was his student at Muscat High School. Yeah. So he taught a legion, I would say, of scholars across the spectrum.
Wow.
People like Lamin Lee at the World Bank, the economist. was his student at Nusrat. Langtombong Tamba, for instance, was his student at Nusrat. So I can go on and name so many people that he taught at the Gambia College, at the GTTI, and at different places. So that was Badara Joof for you. Very humble, very unassuming, very down-to-earth person.
How is the president today? For you to lose somebody like Badara Joof, who you've been working with for the past couple of years, but today he's your number 2, and we know the president has been pretty close with the vice president. How is he today?
In fact, just before you called, I was talking to the president on the phone.
Wow.
So I ignored your first calls because he was on the line.
Yes.
And he described him as a big tree that has fallen in his government.
Yes.
He was such a pillar. Badara Joof was very simple, very honest, but above all, he was a very tough guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, in order to satisfy Badara Joof, you have to be equally tough.
Yeah.
Even though he was vice president, he was always honest. He spoke truth to power.
Yes.
He didn't shy away from telling the president and the cabinet colleagues, what he felt about what he felt.
Yeah.
And for me, honestly, that brings the best out of him.
Yes.
Having a state minister, later promoted to the level of a vice president, who wasn't afraid to speak his mind.
Yeah.
Who would always say it as it is supposed to be. He would raise his finger and criticize where he felt something was wrong.
Yeah.
I think not only in Gambia, but in the rest of Africa, I think that's what we need for our societies to move on, to progress like other societies that we continue to draw from and to emulate for our own posterity. And such a person was Badara Joof. And above all, he was a very disciplined guy.
Yes.
Because discipline doesn't only mean to be respectful. It also means to respect your job, to respect your family, to respect others, to work on time, to be dedicated, to be steadfast. He had all these characteristics as both as a civil servant and later as a politician. And even at the World Bank, he was so respected, and even after he tendered his resignation, the bank decided to give him a 2-year extension, just in case, knowing what politics were, that he could be hired and be fired at the whims and caprices of a superior person called the head of state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the kind of person we're talking about. And when I remember Badara Joof, I do not only see a former teacher or former friend. I see a national asset. An asset that has actually, disappeared today from her. And we hope that the rest of the public service, civil service, and the rest of the government will also take a leaf from his pages and try to endeavor and emulate some of the very good things he left here. And pray to Allah that his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen. You have any update for us on the funeral arrangements?
Yeah, before the funeral arrangements, Fatou, let me take the opportunity of your interview and also announce to the entire population that there is no public holiday.
Okay.
That national mourning does not actually translate to national holiday.
Yeah.
Some people have already begun taking their holidays until we had to come up with a rejoinder.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
So absent that, let me also say that India is a different jurisdiction.
Yeah.
His coming here is determined by the availability of flights.
Yeah.
Tentatively, the announcement is we expect him here no later than Saturday, latest Sunday. We're coming through Dakar.
Okay.
Thereafter, body will be laid in state at the National Assembly.
Okay.
And if all goes well, the funeral service will be at the National Assembly.
Yeah.
There are various speakers. The President Barrow, that is, would be the last speaker. And thereafter, the casket would be ferried to Banjulundin, where he resided all these years, his adopted home.
Yeah.
And for his for the last respects at the Banjulundin Masjid or mosque.
Yeah.
And thereafter, he'll be laid to rest. I understand his grave would be very close to his mom's grave.
Oh. Wow, thank you very much, Sankare, for that update. And when I heard about the news this morning, the first person I thought of was you, because I know how we have talked about him several times, and I want to extend my condolence to you, through you, to the entire family, and to His Excellency the President, and to the entire cabinet.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fatou.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dear, when you hear Sankare talk, especially when he mentioned about all the people, even in cabinet, the people that he thought, Amadou Sanes, the Lamin Lee of World Bank, so many people that he thought today are in the civil service or in very prestigious fields of life.
In fact, if we forgot to mention, when he was Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Local Government, the minister was his student. I mean, Kaba Bajo.
Kaba, yes.
Kaba was his student.
Oh, Kaba was his student?
Yes, he was his student at Nusrat.
Wow.
So, the testimony given by Sankare is quite apt, because I know they were very close. In fact, I knew Sankare through Badara. Because, yes, I knew him through Badara. So, they were very, very close. By then, Badara was teaching at Nusrat and Sankare was there as a student, but all the time he used to spend at Badara's place as well.
Wow.
So, they've been together for a long. So, his testimony of Badara is definitely quite apt, because he knows him very, very well. And this is the type of person that Badara was. Anybody who knew Badara would know him as a very humble person. And a person who was quite dedicated to whatever he was doing, and he was also prepared to go at any length to help people who he seen potential in. He was definitely always willing to exploit the potentials of people and help them to reach higher heights. That was Badara Joof.
That was Badara Joof. Yes. I have Honorable Ibrahim Silla, Minister of Transport, Works, Transport and Infrastructure. Ibrahim, bismillah, na special tribute to the Vice President B. Samanda Bankobe Sunuta Sunomi Alonko, President Barrow Fonglea for Gambia Diwolbe, Dr. Badara Joof ko Minjio Doyata India New Samanda.
Abaraka Bake Fatou, la Morlan Nijiveral, Fala Bin Contona. Follow Safo, Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un. Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un. Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un. Badara Joof, His Excellency Vice President. Follow me Ngalone Sanjang, Yanni avec la Vice President. Parce que Antol Karandle Nusrat High School. And Fana Alanata Kefana Antol Vela Musol Fanam Dolin Kotolet. Badara, His Excellency Vice President. Na Anatas cross part Fana Senegal. Bari atebinaka watu mina 2013 watu wanatafana be poka Senegal purukata Kenya Nairobi mawo ngama karifula Kenya kane watu World Bank ata as education specialist nata boje koteke nata kala sakunda kilo kono Badara Lomina was a very honest man. He was an intellectual of the highest caliber. He was very straightforward. He was very, very strong in governance issues for now. And Molombi Alonko, he was a towering figure in cabinet.
Listen.
Momo Along cabinet for Kakenyamin. Molbika Kamben Kubela.
Hade.
And everybody was always looking forward to Badara Joof's contribution.
Listen.
Molombi Alonko Banko Bele Miyakuyata ala Kuala, Banko Bele Sunuta ala Kuala. Because our capacity as minister was somehow flawless.
Listen.
Our grasp of development issues was at the highest level.
Listen.
And Fana Molombi Alonko Safono, he was a pillar of our government.
Listen.
And Molombi Alonka committed back to accountability and transparency. Molombi Alonko, he was very committed to democratic governance.
Listen.
Molombi Alonko Banko Kanu, I Aladoko Kanu, I Mansakuda Kanu. Up to his very last days, he was always checking on everyone. Kajibe do calling and Takala. So Badara ko Colombia loco Suno Wakam Bulbake. Barbao Mobe Kajinabat. Alhamdulillah, Avata Fangala Molle Blocono, and Muslim Molle Palabinala Casala Macabadi, Avunda Marica. Muslim Beka on it.
Hade.
Eulina Molcono, if I Muslim Mol Blocono, it's Mole Salima Bade, Yemundi Mariam. And the Duala Bake, or Atadula was a fifth Bodulati, and the Wall Beka Fari.
Barka bake Ibrahim beten tulambe jela balbe kontona sangola ka banko president konton sangola cabinet be ani molbe bayri badara comme ya fo nyami itena la nyolo manke do ko damati barala musu fulolu dol nin ko tollam o fanan akati la ticha fananti sankare ya fo jankabra janika dundro ya fo ko badara mo mimbe karanda ko ni Ibrahim silabe wolle kono Amadou Sane nyolo ni mo jama la nate fango atol be mo leti mi alon ko mo kallankel mi alon ko ay karande nyim banko kam oto mbal fana be kontona sangola abaraka baka honorable. So when you hear students like Ibrahim Silla talk about what he has done, and today they serve in the same cabinet. Like you were friends from childhood, you slept in the same bed. Today, you served in the same government. Today, people like Ibrahim Silla, who he had taught, people like Ibrahim Sankare, Amadou Sane, also he served in the same cabinet with all of them. Yes. When you hear people like this person, Ibrahim said something, he said he was a pillar in our cabinet. That is huge.
Yeah.
He was somebody that everybody wanted to hear his opinion because he was knowledgeable, he had patience, but he was also very powerful when he made his positions known.
Yeah, that is quite true because, I mean, just as Ibrahim Silla has said, I mean, everybody was eager to hear what Badara was saying on any particular topic that was being discussed because of the fact that he wouldn't approach a subject from any political point of view. Yeah. He would look at it from the practical aspect all the time. So that was why whatever contribution he made definitely was always found to be very, very useful to any particular topic that was being discussed. Wow. So, I mean, Badara, definitely he was that type of person. And, I mean, as Ibrahim Silla said, he was a big pillar in the government, a very strong pillar. And, we've lost a very dedicated person in the government. Of course, I mean, as he said, there are other Gambians who can replace him, but he's definitely... his absence will be felt very, very heavily in the government and in society as well. Yeah.
And he during his time as vice president, most of the time there's a vice president residency. I think I have the Honorable Deputy Speaker also on the line. Let me get him on the phone. Hello, Honorable Sidi Njai.
Hello.
Hey, Honorable, you are live on Kerr Fatou.
Hello,
you are live on Kerr Fatou. How are you?
Fine, thank you. And yourself?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Just your reaction when you heard about the news of the demise of the vice president.
I was very shocked and sad and lost some who served all his life for the betterment of this country has fallen. It was indeed a moment of grief for all of us, not only me or the late Badara family, but His Excellency President Adama Barrow and the entire nation. Badara has been true to his life. He has worked towards, during his time, helping to mold, especially young people, and he guided all of us through the straight path. I've worked with him closely when he was the Minister for Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology, and as well as Vice President. He has guided me personally as president. He has supported and has benefited from his vast wealth of experience. And I've known Badara to be an astute individual who was upright, who was true to himself, to his people, to his peers, and to his colleagues. And he was very frank and committed to this nation. At an old age of his, but if you had the opportunity to have interacted with him, you notice one thing. That is his strong zeal, his commitment to seeing Gambia sail through. And those virtues are very rare to see in an elderly statesman like Badara Joof. We have worked. He has treated me at a personal level as a son, and as his baby grandchild, and he has molded me, and he has contributed immensely. Look at when he was at higher education, he contributed and he led very positive and progressive policies that geared towards getting highly trained and skillful staff as well as students through the University of the Gambia and other higher educations. And he has fought tooth and nail to see to it that scholarships increase annually for benefit of all and sundry, particularly sons and daughters of those who could not afford to send their children to acquire higher education. It's a great loss for this country, not for his family only, but for the entire nation. As vice president, all will attest to the fact that he tried his best to make sure that he coordinated all government policies and programs in all departments and institutions along the path of which His Excellency President Adam Barrow has assigned him and those other members of cabinet and by extension the executive to lead this country to a prosperous. I am certain. And at another level, I can confirm that he is a devoted Muslim, practical Muslim for that matter. He's been, in my office, in his office. I saw him pray, not only pray, but he was also telling me, Honorable CD, time will go 40, let's go and pray. That was the man who, and he is very kind, very caring, very loving, and very passionate. I am really sad. It's a solemn occasion for not only his family in Kuntaya, in Banjulunding, and in Jokadu, but all of us as a nation and as a people. My condolences to his family, to His Excellency the President, the entire cabinet, and to the nation at large.
You interacted with him a couple of times because, as Vice President, he came to the Assembly to answer questions. How was his interaction with the members of the Parliament whenever he visited?
And in fact, whenever he visited, he will always be in my office. During break time or during prayer time, or he wants something, is in my office. He's always in my office. And his interaction with members of the National Assembly across political divide, they will tell you, every member of the Assembly, whether you are a member of the ruling party or coalition or an opposition party, will agree with me that he was very respectful to his colleague, to the National Assembly, and he takes pride of his duties at the National Assembly, and he respected and honored each and every member of the National Assembly as they relate not only to his official function as Vice President, representing himself as member of cabinet and also representing the president on whose capacity he will answer for matters in Parliament, but also the private and personal relationship with all members of the National Assembly and indeed staff. So he was a very humble man, a man who was down to earth, a man who was equal to the task, and also a man who sees all members of the National Assembly and cabinet and even staff as colleagues.
Thank you very much, Honorable. We send our condolences to you and through you to the entire National Assembly. Thank you very much. Honorable, for me, I think the last public appearance that I remembered was during the flooding. when the floods happened and people's houses were flooding. I still remember those pictures. I don't know whether there were any other public appearances he made after that, but that is what I remembered last. I remember seeing him with Mayor Talib Bensouda, who today called him his mentor. I mean, that's the man he is. Different political divide, but he had respect for people who he even maybe had disagreed with politically. You are one of his best friends. You are one of the biggest critics of this government, but you still had that perfect relationship that you had enjoyed with him even before, and still the same.
Indeed. I mean, like all the those who have given testimonies, they have kept on emphasizing how humility of his state of humility. He was quite a humble person, and apart from that, he was also very blunt. I think Professor Gomez emphasized on
Sankara said that also.
That he was very blunt. He would tell you whatever he felt like tell you, and then that wouldn't spoil your relationship with him, because as far as he was concerned, he felt that things must be done in the way they should be. So that's what that was it. I think they've got him right, definitely.
Yeah. So I have Lamin Cham. Lamin Cham is the editor-in-chief, Standard newspaper, the host of The Brunch, who is also a senior journalist in this country. In his entire career, he has come to, cross paths with so many high-profile people, and Badara Joof might be one of them. Lamin, welcome to this special tribute.
Thank you very much, Fatou, for having me.
Now, I know you have worked all these years, you have come across so many high-profile Gambians, and you have worked with a lot of people. I'm sure you have also had crossed a path with the former Vice President. What can you tell us about Dr. Badara Joof?
Well, to be frank, I actually knew him from reputation before actually meeting him, and I must confess that I only met him in the last 5 years or so, when he became Minister of Higher Education. Actually, there was a function at the ministry on that day, the University of Science, I think, from Ghana, when they were working on helping the MDI to become a University of Science for the Gambia. Some of the officials came from the Ghanaian University, and they had a function at his ministry. So I was invited to cover it. That was the very first time I came very close to him. And since then, I have not met him, facially and closely. But like you said, I have, had a lot of things about him, and all the people who knew him all said he was really an excellent administrator, a perfect human being who has both intellectual and, a charming and charismatic character, who always made friends wherever he went. And people spoke of his time also as a teacher. He was much admired and respected at all the schools he taught. Those who also knew him when he was growing up, he was far older than me. I cannot say much about it. He had always been a very polite, cautious, and disciplined individual, highly organized and very respectful to all and sundry. So he had a unique character. When it comes to charm, he has it. When it comes to charisma, he has it. When it comes to intellect, he had it all. So Badara actually is a rare gem, that this country really is going to miss. And of course, if you look back on his years in the civil service, people would tell you that he really made initiatives, initiated transformational concepts and ideas at wherever he worked. So even before I met him in person, I knew from reputation that he was actually a seasoned civil servant, the kind of which was very rare in the Gambia.
Thank you very much, Cham.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So this is it. The kind of civil servant he was, we don't have anymore. The people that went through from secretaries, principal secretaries, assistant principal to deputy permanent secretary, minister, vice president.
Certainly, he had a lot of experience. He got a lot of experience on the way.
So many ministries,
so many people,
education.
Yeah.
I remember him at local government. He was at agriculture, education. He spent a lot of time at Minister of Agriculture, education as well, and he was also at higher education.
Yeah. No,
so he was an all-rounder at finance as well.
He spent a lot of time also at the office of the president.
Wow.
So he got a lot of experience on the way, definitely. There is no doubt about that. So, and he made best use of that experience as well because, as I said, Badara was a technocrat. And, he was doing things as a technocrat. I mean, as far as he was concerned, politics was, not important in his job. So, that was Badara Joof, definitely. And I think those who've given testimony have told us exactly what they know about Badara Joof. And they are all right, because I know it, at first hand. I grew up with him and I knew him personally. And, at every level we were together. So I know the type of person that Badara is. We've definitely lost a patriot for this country.
Finally, Honorable, we haven't had any high-profile somebody in this high-profile position as a serving vice president, apart from, of course, 1982, I think that was when Jawara had a plane crash, right?
Yeah.
His vice president, then BM Jai, something like that, died. But apart from Abin Jai, sorry. Since then, this is going to be the most high-profile, having a serving vice president, state funeral. What kind of funeral are we looking at? Do you have an idea?
Yes, actually, I'm just from the home there. And when the government delegation came there, we held a discussion. That's the family and the delegation, so that we'll, plan the funeral, how it's going to be. As they said, he's coming back. Well, the body would be arriving in Dhaka on Saturday evening, and it's either they would evacuate the body to the Gambia on that Saturday evening or the following morning, on Sunday morning. And when it comes, probably it will be taken to the morgue. And, on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, it will be laid at the National Assembly, where going to have a kind of a laying in ceremony, and then people will give speeches. The government side as well as members of the family, and maybe one or two of his friends also will give some testimonies. And then after that, then the body would be taken to Banjulundi, the mosque where he used to pray. Then it will be laid there. Then the funeral will be at 2 p.m. on Monday, and then the intention is to have him buried near his mom, because his mom died about 2 years ago, and she's buried in Banjulundi there, and his intention is to be buried near his mom as well. So that's it. That's the arrangement. So it's on Monday morning at 10 o'clock. The body will be laid at the National Assembly, and then the ceremony will be held there. We hope President Barrow would be present, and other members of the government as well as members of his family will give speeches, and before the body is taken to Banjulundi for burial.
Wow.
Yeah.
Finally, what's your message to the entire Gambia? You have lost a dear friend, a brother, somebody you have known for the past 50-something years. What is your message to the Gambian people? What is there that we don't know about Dr. Badara Joof?
Well, I think from the testimonies we've heard from various people, some of whom were his students and some were his colleagues in government and other things, I think, they have kind of, painted a very accurate picture of who Badara Joof was. I think, all those who have listened to them now know the type of person that Badara was. He was a very humble person, and he was a person who was always, interested in accuracy and doing things the way they should have been done. So, all I can urge Gambians is that let's, as much as possible, those he left behind, that is in government, to try as much as to emulate, what he stood for, and make sure that, whatever he had, these plans actually materialized. Like Professor Kerr is taking over from him as the Minister of Higher Education, and he's kind of implementing some of the things that Badara had planned. So I expect others also who have worked with him, and all these beautiful ideas that he had, let try as much as possible so that we can get them implemented.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Honorable. You know, even with this short notice, you were at the house with the family, but you had managed to come here. We want to thank you very much. We also want to send our condolences to you, through you, to the entire family on the loss of your great friend and brother, but also a true son of the Gambia who had big dreams for this country. I think that what really Gambians are missing is the plans he had and what he manifested to us.
Certainly.
That he really wanted these ideas and plans delivered to the Gambian people. That will definitely be missed. But like you said, we hope that people that are going to take the reins after him will deliver and keep his legacy alive.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Fatou.
Thank you very much, Honorable. On that note, we want to thank you all for watching. We will be following developments of the funeral, and we will bring you all the updates from the home and to the state funeral. Until we come your way again, thank you very much. Charles, let's watch the report that you played earlier whilst we end the show. Thank you very much for joining us, and good night to you all.
Better and stronger as the sole ground operator at the Banjul International Airport. With an expansion in travel services, customers are assured of GIA's capacity to cater for all their...
The Vice President of the Gambia, Badara Joof, died in India on Wednesday, January 18, 2023, following a brief illness. The announcement was made via the official Twitter handle of President Adama Barrow earlier Wednesday morning. Dr. Joof, 65, was appointed Vice President of the Gambia in 2022 following the 2021 presidential election. He had previously served as Higher Education Minister during President Barrow's first term. The Vice President left the Gambia about 3 weeks ago to seek medical treatment in India. After the announcement of his passing was made public, an outpouring of condolence messages and mourning from Gambians home and abroad ensued. The mayor of Kanifing Municipal Council, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, wrote on his Facebook page, "It is with great sadness I receive the news of the passing of His Excellency, the Vice President Mr. Badara Joof. He was an uncle, a mentor, and the most honest of leaders, a straight shooter who was not afraid to tell the truth, no matter the personal cost to him. Your legacy will never be forgotten. My sincere condolence to his family and the Gambian people at large. A giant has been lost. May Allah grant him Jannah." The CEO of Global Properties, Sir Fraser, wrote, "It is with shock that I extend my condolence to the family of His Excellency Badara Joof, the President, and the entire nation of the Gambia. He was a man I didn't get the chance to meet, but admired from a distance. I pray Ya Allah grant him Jannah and give solace to his family." VP Joof was highly respected across the board for his candor and professionalism.
The Gambian people have great expectations. And it reminds me of two writers. Charles Dickens wrote Great Expectations. Chinua Achebe wrote No Longer at Ease. The Gambian people have great expectations, and they are no longer at ease. To make them at ease, we have to deliver the development agenda of this government, our government.
Badara Joof was a Gambian politician and civil servant who served as Vice President of the Gambia from 2022 until his death. He previously served as Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology from 2017 to 2022. Joof was a student at Armitage High School and trained as a teacher at Yundum Teachers College. He held a Bachelor of Education degree from the University of Bristol, a degrees degree in English Literature from the University of London, and a degrees degree in Development Economics from the University of Bath.
It cannot be business as usual in the civil service. We go to security. We would have to mobilize resources for them to be more effective. We don't have to take security for granted. In security, you never say it cannot happen or it will not happen. It happens when you least expect it to happen, because that's the time they strike. They catch you unawares. We will have to make the police, the drug squad, the military more effective, more efficient, but more importantly, more professional.
Joof began his career as qualified teacher teaching English at the Gambia College. He was then head of Department of Languages and Literature at Nusrat High School. He was the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Education for many years. In March 2002, he was reported that he had been transferred to the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Local Government and Lands. Joof worked as the World Bank liaison officer to the Gambia. In this role, he assisted Higher Education Minister Mariama Sarr Ceesay in introducing a new education policy to the Gambia. He also urged the Gambian tourism sector to move from the routine tourism and be more proactive. He led a World Bank project supported to NGO Network Tango, which had a budget of $220,000 and lasted from 2010 to 2013. The stated purpose of which was to enhance the efficiency and accountability of non-governmental organizations in delivering basic services to the poor in the member country. In 2013, Joof visited various projects sites in the Gambia along the Ministry of Agriculture to gain a better understanding of the various challenges they face. In 2014, Joof was appointed as an education specialist in Dakar, Senegal, to the World Bank. On 22nd February 2017, President Adama Barrow appointed Joof as his Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology. In memory of the late VP Joof, President Barrow has declared a 7-day national mourning effective today, 18th January 2023, with all flags flying half-mast. Upon arrival, the body of the late VP will be laid in state at the National Assembly for a state funeral. Arrangements related to the funeral will be announced later. The former Vice President will be remembered forever by Gambians for his service for the nation.
As somebody who has been appointed to coordinate government affairs, I had a discussion with His Excellency and colleagues and said we should have a cabinet retreat. But it will not be like the old types of retreat. This is going to be a different retreat. A retreat that will discuss the pressing priority development imperatives of this country and come up with an implementable action plan that has timelines, people who would deliver and give results, with a monitoring dashboard. As we implement, we self-assess and see how far we are going, what progress has been made, what are the implementation constraints, and what is the panacea to those implementation constraints.
Reporting for Kerr, Fatou, I am